Today, I'll be ranking every Minecraft update, starting with 1.0. Now, this was the update that started it all, and honestly was one of the biggest updates in the entirety of Minecraft, including blocks like brewing stands, cauldrons, and enchantment tables, to mobs like villagers, magma cubes, and snow golems, and even introduced two new structures, nether fortresses and the stronghold, and even added a new dimension called the End, introducing a final boss called the Ender Dragon. But best of all, this update introduced the Blaze. I think it should be pretty obvious why that would be important to me. S tier. Moving on to 1.1. This update is a lot less exciting, only adding a few new items, such as spawn eggs, which can only be accessed in creative mode, and added several new changes to items like bows now being enchantable and golden apples now being craftable using gold nuggets. This update also introduced blacksmiths into villages, making them much more useful. Despite this, I'd probably put this update in D tier, as it wasn't really too groundbreaking. Moving on, Minecraft 1.2 introduced a jungle biome, which would spawn with trees that were much larger than they had previously been, with the new mob, the Ocelot, which could be tamed using raw fish and would scare creepers away from your homes. This update also introduced the Iron Golem as a way to protect villagers from mobs like zombies. But it doesn't stop there, because this update also increased the building limit to 256 blocks now, instead of the previous 128. Overall, pretty solid update. I'd give it a C tier. Alright, Minecraft 1.3 had a lot of new changes, adding 3 new structures: desert pyramids, jungle pyramids, and desert villages. And speaking of villages, this update introduced trading, which is not the trading we know today, but was a great start and allowed you to trade for diamond gear for a pretty cheap cost. But this update gets even better because it would introduce a brand new mode called Adventure Mode, allowing for map makers to make even better adventure maps, as you were no longer to break blocks in the world. I have to give this update a B tier. Next up, we got Minecraft 1.4, known as the Pretty Scary update, which added a handful of mobs including witches, bats, and a new boss, the Wither. Of course, allowing for the addition of beacons. But as well as this, we got a couple other blocks that were extremely valuable, like anvils and command blocks. Honestly, this is an extremely solid update, and it's going to be a B tier. Moving on, we have 1.5, the Redstone update, which added a ton of redstone related items such as redstone blocks, hoppers, and redstone comparators, and also came with the addition of nether quartz. But in all, where personally I see a lot of practicality with what came with this update, there's nothing really in this update that was particularly exciting to me, since I don't usually use redstone. That being said, this will end up being our first F tier. Next, we have the horse update, which you could guess added coal blocks, and I guess horses are added too, with different variations like mules and donkeys. This update also added a handful of items like leads, name tags, and horse armor. Overall, I guess it would be a high F tier. Next, we have the update that changed the world, or 1.7, which added a lot of new biomes like mesas, savannas, and dark oak forests, and gave a lot of variation to the way worlds could look. This update also added new potion effects and introduced new varieties of fish, like salmon and pufferfish. This is genuinely a solid update, but I can't really put it anywhere besides B tier. It's time now for 1.8, an update that many people are acquainted with for reasons. Anywho's, this update was actually pretty good, adding a large selection of blocks like slime blocks or different types of stones like diorite, granite, and andesite, as well as a new quote-unquote boss known as the Elder Guardian, which of course came with the addition of ocean monuments, allowing you to find sponge which could remove large amounts of water around it. On top of this update also added spectator mode, which for a creator like me is one of the best additions in the game, and for that I have to put this update at A tier. Alright, it's time for 1.9, the controversial update. I mean, the combat update. Yeah, this update changed the combat system from jitter clicking and block hitting to precise timed attacks in shield PvP. Personally, from a survival perspective, I think the new combat system is amazing. However, for PvP, I'm definitely not patient enough to do shield PvP. However, this update was carried extremely hard by End Cities, which added more to explore after you beat the Ender Dragon, and allowed you to find items like the Elytra or diamond gear. And on top of this update introduced treasure enchantments like mending and frostwalker, and even added dual wielding as a new mechanic, allowing you to use 2 items at essentially the same time. This update is easily an S tier. It's now time for 1.10, and surely this was a good update to follow up 1.9. Well, not really, as it didn't really add anything incredible. I mean, I guess we got polar bears and fossils, and I guess a few other nether blocks, but overall, this update's gonna have to be an F tier. 1.11 was much better than 1.10, as it added woodland mansions, where you could find one of the strongest items in the game, Totems of Undying, practically giving you a second life. And on top of this, the End City got even better, as you can now craft shulker boxes, which are basically portable chests. This update was easily an A tier. Next, we have 1.12, or the World of Color update. update, which was pretty lackluster, only adding a few different colored blocks. And parrots? Yeah, that's it. It's an F tier. Alright, it's now time for Update Aquatic, which like the name suggests, updated oceans to make them more lively, by adding new mobs to oceans like turtles, dolphins, and drowns, which could drop a new weapon, also added in this update called Tridents. And this update even added more to oceans like coral and shipwrecks, which helped make the oceans have a more enjoyable ambience. This update was also the first update to introduce a mob that was added through a mob vote, and in this case, it was the absolute worst possible choice, the Phantom. And for that, this update would have been an A tier, but it will end up as a high B tier. If you can't tell, I really don't like Phantoms. Okay, it's time for 1.14, the Village and Pillage update, which added a new mini boss fight, or raids that you could do to earn good gear, like totems and a new effect called Hero of the Village, which would make trades with villagers much more inexpensive. And speaking of villagers, you can now control what they traded to you by changing their profession using specific blocks like lecterns, fletching tables, or blast furnaces, which can be crafted or found in newly renovated villages. This update also added a new projectile weapon, the crossbow, which has been prevalent in 1.9 PvP as the arrow can now be charged ahead of time. Honestly, this update has so many changes that I can't even name them all, and this is easily an S tier update. Alright, surely they learned from their mistakes in 1.10 and they won't release another bad update after an S tier, right? Let's see what we got in 1.15. This should be good. What do we got? B's? That's it? F. Alright, it's now time for 1.16, the Nether update. And I'll be honest, I'm a little biased as this is my favorite update that's ever been added in the game, as it overhauled the Nether by adding new structures like bastions and ruined portals. This update also added a bartering system with piglins, and added new wood to the Nether along with different variations that can be found in different biomes. It even added a brand new ore that can only be found in the Nether called Netherite, which is stronger than diamond, making it very rewarding to find. Needless to say, it's an S tier. Alright boys, it's time for the Caves and Cliffs trilogy, starting with 1.17, which added a large selection of items including copper, deep slate, and amethyst, and also added mobs like the axolotl, goats, and the mob vote winner, the glow squid. It's a solid C tier. Now it's time for the Caves and Cliffs part of this update, adding new massive caves and mountains. However, personally, I haven't really enjoyed these caves as much as previous caves, because most of the time, they appear as cracks in the ground, and when you find a cave, it's just so many mobs and small veins of diamonds. I mean, you know what? I get it. It's a skill issue. It's a B tier. Alright, it's time for 1.19. What did this update add again? The Warden? Ancient cities? I mean, they're okay, I guess, but I mean, I guess I'll have to go in. Wait, frogs? It's an S tier, boys. That is what you like to see. And finally, 1.20, the newest Minecraft update, adding many new cosmetic changes, including bamboo, cherry wood, pots, and armor trims, as well as new mobs, including the sniffer, camels, and a brand new structure called trail runes, which honestly are a lot of fun to search through. A tier. Anyways, boys, that is my list. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.